Okay, let's talk about something that for a lot of people in pharma, biotech, and medical devices is a serious source of pain. The words computer system validation, right? You hear that phrase, and you probably picture just mountains of paperwork, super rigid rules, and processes that feel like they were invented just to slow you down.
But what if that whole framework wasn't actually a set of laws you have to obey? What if it was more like a cheat code, a strategic guide to actually make your systems better, faster, and, most importantly, safer? Well, that's what we're going to dig into right now. We are going to break GMP5 down into plain English and show you exactly how to use it to your advantage.
So to really get GAMP5, you have to understand the world it's trying to fix. The old way of doing things, the traditional validation, it was all about one thing: generating massive piles of documents for evidence. The smart way, which lines up with modern ideas like computer software assurance, is the complete opposite. It's about lean documentation, zeroing in on what the system is actually supposed to do, using risk to guide your testing, and being smart enough to use the work your vendors have already done. It's a total mindset shift. Okay, so that's the big question, right? How do we actually make that leap? How do we get from a process that feels like a huge burden to one that actually adds value and protects patients, all without drowning us in paperwork? Well, the answer is GAMP5. It stands for Good Automated Manufacturing Practice. And let's get one thing crystal clear right now. It is not a regulation. I'll say that again, it's not a law you have to follow. It's a framework, a set of best practices that gives you a risk-based way to focus your time, your money, and your energy on the things that actually matter for patient safety and product quality.
And here's the best way to think about it. Imagine you're building a really complex Lego castle. You could just wing it, right? But the final castle might be wobbly. It might fall apart. GMP5 is the instruction manual. It doesn't tell you which color bricks to use, but it gives you a proven method to make sure your castle is solid, that you can build it the same way again, and that it does exactly what you designed it to do, every single time.
And this whole brilliant framework is built on 5 core ideas. First up, you have to really truly understand your product and your process. Second, validation isn't a one-and-done thing. It's a life cycle. You got to think about it from the system's birth all the way to its retirement. Third, and this one is huge, your activities have to be scalable. You don't use a sledgehammer to crack a nut, right? You don't validate a simple calculator the same way you validate a complex manufacturing system. Fourth, you use science and risk management to focus on what should actually harm a patient. And finally, and this is a game changer, leverage your supplier's work. Don't redo testing they've already done. So, what's the secret sauce that makes all this work? Honestly, it's incredibly simple, but it's powerful. GAMP5's entire structure is built on one idea: treat different types of software differently. The amount of work you put in is tied directly to the software's complexity and its risk. So here's how that plays out in the real world. GAMP5 sorts software into a few buckets. You've got Category 1, that's your basic infrastructure, operating systems, databases. The risk is low. Then you jump to Category 3, which is off-the-shelf software you use as is. Category 4 is where a ton of our systems live. It's software that you buy and then configure for your needs, like a LIMS or an MES system. The risk starts to climb. And finally, you have Category 5. This is the high-risk stuff, custom software that you built from scratch. And this visual just nails the entire concept. Look at this. See how the validation effort scales perfectly with the risk level? For the low-risk stuff, you can pretty much just rely on what the vendor tells you. But as you climb that ladder towards high-risk, custom code, your testing has to get way more rigorous. We're talking fully scripted, documented, robust tests. The effort matches the risk. It's that simple.
Now, I know what some of you might be thinking. Okay, this all sounds a little rigid, maybe a little old school. But here's one of the most important things you need to know about GAMP5. It's not some dusty old document. It is a living, breathing framework.
See, GAMP originally grew up around this classic V model for development, where you plan everything out in a straight line. But that's not how we build software anymore, right? So GAMP5 has completely embraced the Agile model. Instead of pretending we have all the answers up front, it encourages a discovery mindset. We build, we test, we learn, and we adapt in short cycles. This is a huge deal because it means our validation process can be just as flexible and smart as our development process. And the beautiful part is that this modern way of thinking lines up perfectly with where regulators like the FDA are heading with computer software assurance, or CSA. It's just a logical 4-step approach. First, figure out what the system does. Does it touch the patient or the product? Second, think about what could happen if it failed. Third, don't redo work. use your vendor's documentation. And fourth, make sure the amount of testing you do matches the level of risk. GAMP 5 gives you the roadmap to do exactly that. And this isn't just about catching up to today's development methods. No, the latest version of GAMP 5 is actively looking ahead. It was specifically updated to help us deal with the most advanced technologies that are hitting our industry right now. I mean, check this out. The second edition now has specific guidance for things that were basically science fiction not too long ago, including Agile, yes, but also things like blockchain and even artificial intelligence and machine learning. This proves GAMP isn't a static rulebook. It's evolving right alongside technology to stay useful. So, if you take one thing away from all of this, let it be this. The whole philosophy has changed. We've moved away from this old school approach that was all about compliance, all about checking boxes to survive an inspection. The real goal now, the true spirit of GAMP 5, is to encourage critical thinking that actually makes our products safer, our quality higher, and our data more reliable. So I'm going to leave you with this one question to think about. When you look at your own validation processes back at your company, are they really just about generating paperwork to pass an audit, or are they built on a solid foundation of critical thinking that's laser-focused on the only thing that really matters, patient safety?